All that heaven allows. All that heaven allows. Number 95. All that heaven allows. Hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection Reviewer Guy. Sorry about the delay in this one. I know I said I was going to do it last night, but I got called into work, and yeah, so I didn't have time to do it. But hey, we're here now with All That Heaven Allows, number 95, a Douglas Sirk. We're having a Douglas Sirk double-a-palooza today. We got this one and Written on the Wind coming on a little later today. And yeah, so what we got? 90, 55, 89 minutes. Jane Wyman, Rock Hudson knocking it out of the park. I guess their second film together after one called Magnificent Obsession. Of course, I've never seen that one because I'm a guy. And yeah, so let's talk about it. So it's kind of a trippy story. Kind of definitely a romantic movie. This is a romantic movie. Jane Wyman plays Carrie Scott, this widow who lives with her kids, and her best friend comes by all the time, and Sarah Warren, who played by Agnes Moorehead, or the mother witch from Bewitched, I forget her name, Edina, I forget what her name is. Anyway, and Rock Hudson plays Ron Kirby, her Carrie's gardener. And I guess they used to have Ron's father used to work for them, but when he passed away, Ron took over the business and started planning stuff for her. And you see, it's weird. In the beginning, you see him in the background. You see just Carrie and Sarah talking to each other. Then you see him in the background. You think, and then I love how Sir kind of brings him to the forefront. He's in the background at first to kind of show because Carrie's really set up in this, very artsy, well, not artsy-fartsy, but really hoity-toity kind of, setup. Her kids are effing snobs, which I'll talk about in a bit. But when she goes to parties, all her friends are very high class and all that, and everything's very materialistic for her. So, and then Ron is the total opposite. He's kind of a backwoods guy. He's not a redneck or anything like that, but he's very just he just takes what life will give to him. He doesn't ask for anything. He just, it's kind of just total opposite. It's what he takes pretty much. It's he'll accept all that heaven allows, or something like that. That's where the title comes into play. He gets all, something like that. I don't remember exactly how to phrase it. So it's really interesting, and that's just kind of, as far from a directional standpoint, how Sirk kind of shows him in the background and then brings him closer and closer to the forefront very quickly, actually, in the first scene. By the end of the first scene, after Sarah's left, Carrie brings Ron over to the table and serves him roll and coffee. So it's really quickly how he just kind of jumps right into her life like that. So anyway, speaking of which, so she brings him actually rolling coffee, and they talk for a bit, and eventually they eventually actually kind of fall in love slowly but surely. At the same time, Carrie's sort of set up with this older guy. What's his name? Harvey, played by Conrad Nagel, and it's obvious she doesn't like this guy. I mean, she likes him enough, but not enough to marry him. In fact, he actually talks about marriage, and she's like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. Meanwhile, oh god, her kids. Ooh, you want to slap the hell out of her kids, especially the daughter. Oh, that daughter needs to shut the hell up. In fact, I said shut the hell up to her about 15 times during the film, especially her first scene. She is one of those brain boxes. She's everything she speaks. She has to say everything from a psychological standpoint, and quote Greek mythology and Greek psychologists and shit. And it's just Kay Scott, that's her name. Oh god, and she wears. The whole idea that she wears glasses, just kind of brings forward this whole she's gonna live. She lives alone for the rest of her life, which we'll find out isn't true, but. Yeah, and then her son, it seems like his only claim to fame is that he, I guess he's a teacher or a TA at Princeton or something like that. And his only claim to fame is making some kind of martini that he can do really well. Um, and yeah, so she's really set up in this life, and her friends are total assholes. They're they're just gossips and just like really hoity-toity, and it's just like they're kind of people you just want to punch in the face after like spending 2 or 3 minutes with them, because and if you show any kind of weakness, they will shut you down like that. So it's no wonder that when Carrie falls in love with Ron and they kiss and they reveal their feelings for each other, you know the whole she's very angsty about coming out in funny I should use the phrase coming out regarding Rock Hudson, but anyway, coming out to her friends as a lover of a backwoods guy, a Henry David Thoreau lover, if you will. First, she meets Ron's. First, of course, she meets Ron's friends who accept her, totally, because they're cool, they're awesome, they're just like, more or less just like Ron, and they tell her pretty much everything she needs to know about Ron, and that he's just really a down to earth guy and all that. And she ends up having a party with them, and she has a great time, and he ends up getting this cabin that he wants to refurbish and all that, and he refurbishes it, and he finally eventually asks her to marry him. And she at first is like really skeptical, but at the end she says yes. And the only problem is he wants her to live in the cabin. And so she's like, okay, how am I going to tell my kids? Because apparently her kids still live at home. They look like they're like 25, 26, and they don't have a place of their own. Who knows? All they do is just travel. They take the train into Princeton and all that. They just, it's like, oh my god, all this traveling. And I still Mom, I expect you to stay at home because yeah, eventually she does invite Ron to meet her friends. And he ends up almost getting into a fist fight with this guy Howard, who makes a move on Carrie while he's drunk or something, and so he's like, well, that did not work out, and so he kind of realizes that her friends are Ron really tries to get Carrie away from them, and which is why I think is really why he really wants her to live in the country with him. But the next objective is to tell her kids, and her kids are just screwed up beyond reason. Ned totally almost disowns her mother and runs away. Kay apparently is teased at the library because her friends say that that Carrie and Ron were having sex even before their father died. And it's like, it's just scary, but it kind of almost, I think at least with Kay, she's finally broken down a couple pegs by the end of the movie, because toward the end, it's Christmas, and toward the end they have to say goodbye. They realize that it's not going to work out, and they try to part when leaving something intact. And so when Christmas comes around, Kay and Ned come back and visit Carrie, and Kay reveals that she's getting married, and this, of course, hits Carrie totally, which makes sense, because I'm sitting there thinking, oh my god, Kay can get married whoever the hell she wants, and didn't even mention it to Carrie. Didn't even tell her mother that she was getting married until it already happened. And and then after you already chewed out your mother for wanting to marry somebody, period. It's and she tried to tell him about tell them about Ron, and even they met and all that. So it's so she starts to break down, and Kay kind of realizes this and says, crap, I fucked up, So she's like, maybe you still love him. Go visit him, And so later, they meet Carrie and Ron actually run into each other while they're shopping for Christmas trees. But that's kind of, I think that's actually before Ned and Kay come back home. Meanwhile, she goes to see Carrie goes to see a psychiatrist, and she's like because she's been having headaches, and it's kind of revealed that she's just been more lonely. She's more lonely now than she was with Ron, because it's more or less a decision now. Will she be in love with Ron and have just him, or is she so afraid to is she just gonna have she have everybody else who's more or less disowned her now because she's revealed herself to be someone who who more or less just apparently doesn't have standards, will date anybody, And so anyway, toward the end, Carrie goes to visit Ron, and he's up on he's up chopping wood or something, and she sees his car, and she gets out of the car, she's looking, and she just turns away, and she's about to go in the cabin, she turns away back to the car. Ron sees her and is like, Carrie, 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 and he runs and tries to catch her, and he falls off this cliff and breaks his leg or something, and is in this thing. And anyway, so her friends, Ron's friends tell Carrie, and Carrie's like, oh my god, I gotta go see him. So they go to the house, and he's really, she's sitting by his bed, and she's finally at this moment she realizes that she needs to be with him. And so when he's asleep, and when he wakes up, she's like, I came home for you. And it's all happy and ending and blah blah blah. So that's the gist of All That Heaven Allows. So that's pretty much all to say about it. I mean, Cirque, I think, as far as his direction goes, I think there's a lot of very pretty, I think one of the prettiest two scenes that really come to mind that really are striking are the scene when Kay tells her mother about the incident at the library, and there's a window in Kay's a stained glass window in Kay's bedroom that shines this purple light and orange light, and it shines on the characters in the scene, and it's that's just gotta see it. And the other scene is when Carrie and Ron are in the cabin, and they kind of have that tiff where they realize that they can't do it anymore. They can't see each other, and there's a lot of darkness. The switching between darkness and light between the two characters is just, it's a trip. Really nice job. And that's about it. That's about the size of it. So what do we get this one? Because I really was put off by the characters, but really put off by, not Carrie and Ron, because they're nice characters enough, but all the secondary characters are so assholians, to quote the angry video game nerd. Except for maybe Sarah. Sarah kind of, Sarah feels more down, kind of gets, not Jane, Carrie a little more, and is kind of a little more accepting with the fact that she's dating her gardener. Because of that, I think I'm gonna give it just a B. Give this one a B. It's like I said, the kids really just smack them, just punch them dead in the face. Even Kay, I don't care, I'll punch her dead in the face if I ever see her. Not that I will, but anyway. So yeah, apart from those characters, good story, beautiful colors and all color scheme and all that. Those secondary characters just need to be smacked. And Howard, that drunk ass Howard flirting with Carrie is just smack him. So yeah, give it a B. So supplements. Let's see. The new one is a hour of excerpts. It says an hour of excerpts, but it's actually a half hour. Half hour of excerpts from Behind the Mirror, profile of Douglas Sirk, a 1979 BBC documentary featuring rare interview footage with the director. It's basically him talking about, Douglas Sirk talking about his films. He does talk a little bit about All That Heaven Allows. But he also talks about his other films, which I haven't seen, especially Written on the Wind, which, it's don't tell me too much about it, I want to see this, It's an imitation of life on the films of Douglas Sirk, an illustrated essay by filmmaker Rainer Werner Fassbinder, which is pretty funny. It's actually really funny. He talked about 6 of his films, and I only read the section about All That Heaven Allows because the other ones are really too revealing. He talks about Written on the Wind, Interlude, and I forget the other ones. Then there's a bunch of trailers, and I mean there's a bunch of lobby cards, production stills, really pretty production stills, and then the trailer, which is of course a trailer, and that's about it. So all that heaven allows. Now, as far as the 2014 version, which just came out, apparently there's a later interview in '82 with Douglas Sirk. There's an interview from 2007 with William Reynolds, who played Ned, and a couple of, I think, one other supplement. So there's a couple more things that are new, which we can get to, which hopefully I'll get to as soon as possible. I gotta start making notes of all the supplements I'm missing, because there's so many, there's so many that I've had to miss because of my not being able to get certain Criterion collections and all that. But anyway, that takes care of this version. So hopefully in the near future I'll get my hands on the 2014 issue of All That Heaven Allows. And yeah, so that's it from me. So All That Heaven Allows beat. All right, so next, coming very soon, before you very well know it, Written on the Wind, 96. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we will see you sometime later today for our Douglas Sirk-a-palooza. Douglas Sirk-a-palooza. Oh, it sounds like circus anyway. Circus-a-palooza, Sirk-a-palooza. We'll see you later. See you later today for Written on the Wind. And until then, later.